Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages from all across the world. You are now tuned into the Chandler Brief, where the dress code is, of course, business casual, and we do our best to not mispronounce the word brief, of which my mouth always somehow pronounces belief. But this is our daily show we have every day, every weekday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, of which we try to dissolve as many topics of the day as we can in just about 30 minutes. Before we do, though, I want to give a big shout out to everybody we have in the chat. Thank you to everybody tuning in over on Rumble, over on Getter, and on the brand new YouTube channel. Shout out to my friend Bryce Pitts, Aaron Berenger, Hip Hop Thinker. I'm happy to see a lot of our classic faces tuning into the brand new YouTube channel. We will, of course, have our show once again tonight at 8 p.m., which is our weekly show we have every week on Tuesdays at 8 called Crump Live, of which we don't wear a tie, so the dress code isn't necessarily business casual, but we take a lean back, we chill out a little bit, and we discuss many topics. Before we jump in, I want to ask you guys to make sure you absolutely obliterate that like button, and if you're interested in supporting the stream, all those links are available down below. We'll jump into that later on, but let's get started with the show. We got 30 minutes starting now. Breaking news out of Ottawa, Canada. The police chief of Ottawa, Canada has now resigned, according to a source. So I guess this is not public quite yet, but let's see a little bit more about the story. Ottawa Police Chief Peter Slowly has resigned on the 19th day of the Freedom Convoy in the city's downtown core. According to the Toronto Sun's Brian Lilly, the news came from a senior source close to the situation. The police chief is expected to make a public announcement later on Tuesday, a source told CBC News. The CBC would later report that Slowly resigned due to accusations of bullying and volatile behavior. Last week, he said that there was absolutely no plans to resign as police chief, telling News Talk that he came here to do a job. I came here to do a job, and I'm going to get that job done all the way through, he said, according to CTV News. Absolutely committed, have a great team, great officers, we've got great partners in the city. We're going to get this done. So it seems he was rather confident in his ability to get the job done, but I guess because of bullying, if that's the reason you want to stick with, is now he's gone. Slowly was chief of police with the Ottawa Police Service since October 28th, 2019. And here's a tweet from Brian Lilly, the source, talking about it. The police chief was criticized last week by the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, who highlighted the police force's efforts to work with GoFundMe to remove funds from the Freedom Convoy truckers. That is shady. Shady as all shady can possibly be. Isn't that right, Bryce? That is crazy. Somebody says they are stealing the firewood from the truckers. Yeah, plenty of stuff like that. We're actually going to be covering that later on. Not exactly that story, but pieces of it. Chief Slowly publicly accuses the truckers of engaging in unlawful and harmful activities and of promoting hatred and violence, but provides no examples, facts, or arrests to support his accusations, wrote Carpe. The chief calls for order to be restored, even though order has not been lost. His fact-free rhetoric includes mention of an increasingly volatile and increasingly dangerous situation, as though speaking for an oppressive regime. Chief Slowly has repeatedly called for an end to the exercise of the fundamental charter freedoms of expression, association, and peaceful assembly by Canadians in their own capital city. Ottawa police have been reached for comment. This is a breaking news story and will be updated. This is pretty crazy, happening right now in Ottawa, Canada. He's resigned and is actually straight up gone. Now, this comes just within a few hours, actually, or I guess a day or so, of Justin Trudeau now publicly invoking the Emergencies Act. And you guys may remember in our segment yesterday, we talked about how Justin Trudeau is planning to invoke the Emergencies Act. Well, actually, just an hour after we had our live show, Crump Chandler Brief yesterday, he actually came out and made this public. So let's just watch his announcement real quick, and then I want to show you guys what happened afterwards. So let me just not blow your ears out.
Has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations. The federal government
Just hear that one more time.
has invoked the Emergencies Act to supplement provincial and territorial capacity to address the blockades and occupations.
So he has enacted the Emergencies Act, which is a successor to the War Measures Act, which, there you go, that shows you what it is, to quell protests in Canada. Castro Jr. started trending just a little bit after this happened. And now Twitter actually has to have a misinformation thing above it. A debunked claim regarding Prime Minister Trudeau's lineage is repeated in discussions addressing ongoing protests in Canada. And then this is Jack Posobiec saying Castro Jr. has gone full Fidel. Now, I don't know how it's been debunked, but you know what? It was never too serious to begin with. But he sure does look a lot like Castro, so it is what it is. But now we have a sort of different side of this now, of another Jack Posobiec tweet, but of course it connects to a real story. Premiers of Alberta, Manitoba, and Quebec and Saskatchewan have come out to oppose Trudeau's decision to invoke the Emergencies Act on the truckers. So that's pretty much most major provinces. I think there's only like a couple others that aren't in this list. And then Ontario, which is like the remaining major one, because I think the majority of Canadian population lives in Ontario and Quebec. And then a good amount of them are also in Alberta, and then a few less in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And then they have a few other territories up there that haven't declared anything, haven't said we disagree. But they are publicly opposing their prime minister, who they work with in government, to say we don't necessarily agree with this. So let's check out this article from Rebel News. So it's a little bit of a skewed source, but what do you expect? Multiple Canadian premiers oppose Trudeau invoking Emergencies Act. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe has been making headlines recently, first for standing in support of the truckers' convoy, then for being the first premier in Canada to announce an end to vaccine passports in their province. That's how you do it. A few other Canadian premiers followed shortly after, with progressive conservative premier Heather Stefanson announcing the planned loosening of restrictions in Manitoba as well.
Billions.
Now, both premiers, followed perhaps somewhat surprisingly by Quebec premier, are taking a strong stance on the recent news that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is likely to invoke the Emergencies Act as a response to the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa and supportive protests happening across the country along the Canadian-US border. Other premiers are rumored to follow suit. First, in a statement on Twitter, Scott Moe said this: "The illegal blockades must end." Sure, bro. But police already have sufficient tools to enforce the law and clear the blockades, as they did over the weekend in Windsor. Therefore, Saskatchewan does not support the Trudeau government invoking the Emergencies Act. If the federal government does proceed with this measure, I would hope it would only be invoked in provinces that request it as the legislation follows. The relatively new Conservative Premier of Manitoba, Heather Stefanson, also put out an official statement this afternoon, sharing it on Twitter. "I am proud of Manitoba's law enforcement officials and have full confidence in them to protect our communities. The proposal from the federal government to use the Emergencies Act is not helpful to the situation at the Emerson border." So all these premiers are coming out to say, we think this is not the right move for you to do, and we believe that you don't need to do this. And now a funny story that I want to bring up for you guys that is happening is that the CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell, is now sending pillows to the protesters in Canada, the Canadian truckers more specifically. I'm going to just sift through this real quick. Mike Lindell has announced plans to send pillows to Canadian truckers protesting vaccine mandates. The Trump supporter and businessman who is being sued by Dominion, yada, yada, yada. It won't even let me finish reading the article. Hold on. Let me see if I can find one that isn't trying to scam me. How about Business Insider? Mike Lindell, CEO, yada yada. "All of our employees are busy making pillows right now for the truckers in Canada. We're going to try and get them through. I'm not going to say what day, or there will be obstructionists. We're going to get these brave truckers, and it's going on around the world now. It's amazing. We're winning," Lindell said about the Freedom Convoy, a group of truckers who have blocked roads in Canada's capital, Ottawa.
Hello.
And I want to show you this as well. Hold on, let me turn it down.
We're busy. All of our employees are busy making pillows right now for the truckers in Canada. We're going to try and get them through. I'm not going to say what day, or there'll be obstructionists. I know you guys are going to be there. Trust me. You will be there. I'll let you know.
RSBN will be there, and this is actually happening today. The MyPillow shipments have now arrived in Canada, and they are being provided to the truckers. So if you or a loved one know a trucker that might just be interested in a MyPillow, and you want to support this strong movement, then make sure you go to mypillow.com and use code CRUMP to order your very own pillow. A portion of this does go towards MyPillow being able to fund amazing things like sending pillows to truckers. You get a pillow out of it. It supports Mike Lindell. It supports me. It is a quintuple win. Win, 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 win. I think that's 5 wins right there. That's the quintuple word of the day. If you don't know, there's double, triple, quadruple, and quintuple. That's 5. And it goes on sextuple, a few others. But still, quintuple win by going to mypillow.com and using code CRUMP to get a discount on your purchase today, of which a portion of it is more than likely going to go towards supporting Mike Lindell and MyPillow's ability to give pillows to truckers. And they're not selling them to truckers or anything. They're going up to the truckers in Canada and giving them the pillows. What more do you need to do? What more do you need to do? Jumping back into it, though, because this story actually gets deeper. Not only were premiers of his own nation in Canada, not only were the Quebec premier, the Saskatchewan premier, let me just pull the list back up. The The Quebec, Manitoba, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and soon more to follow were against him declaring the Emergencies Act. But even the Canadian Civil Liberties Association condemns Trudeau's use of the Emergencies Act to target the protesters. His own, or I shouldn't necessarily say his own, but from his own nation, the Civil Liberties Association, which says a lot, you could say, oh, Civil Liberties Association, we have those in America, they're kind of stupid. They're probably just as stupid in Canada, but this is good things right here, that they are actually saying, Trudeau, not nice of you to be doing this. They actually went in there. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association has spoken out against Justin Trudeau's unprecedented use of emergency powers to target truckers and their supporters. The association released a statement on Twitter that read, hold on. I'll just read this one. The federal government has not met the threshold necessary to invoke the Emergencies Act. This law creates a high and clear standard for good reason. The act allows government to bypass ordinary democratic processes. This standard has not been met. The Emergencies Act can only be invoked when a situation seriously threatens the ability of the government of Canada to preserve sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity of Canada, and when the situation cannot be effectively dealt with under any other law of Canada. Governments regularly deal with difficult situations and do so using powers granted to them by democratically elected representatives. Emergency legislation should not be normalized. It threatens our democracy and our civil liberties. On Monday evening, prominent Conservative MP Pierre Poilievre lashed out at Trudeau, urging him to end COVID restrictions and stop punishing and smearing hardworking Canadians who simply want their freedom. Let me take a listen to this.
Justin Trudeau has caused a political emergency. While the rest of the world and provinces across Canada are beginning to remove restrictions and mandates, Justin Trudeau decided to pile new ones on, targeting truckers' livelihoods. And now he's got protests right around the country.
Billions!
And now he's dropping in the polls, desperately trying to save his political career and save face for himself.
Ooh.
The solution is staring him in the face.
I don't know much about this guy. I've heard his name a little bit, but I like him. And he makes the soundboard very easy to use, because every time this guy says something savage, I'm just going to drop a
Billions!
And every time I feel Justin Trudeau's face melting off with how hard he's getting roasted, I'm going to drop a because it's really funny. It's really funny, but it's what's funnier is these memes. My good friend Grand Old Memes is dropping more. Ending protests of government tyranny? Yeah, that's collecting the gas. With more government tyranny, throwing the gas on the fire. Isn't that what he's doing, right? Because that's all these people are protesting is government tyranny. Locking them down, trying to force a vaccine in their arm and force a mask on their face. Of course, people are going to want to protest to get out of it. So what do you do to quell the protests and give love to your citizens? You actually toss flame on the fire by telling your citizens, nope, and you need to stop protesting now, or we're going to send the military police your way, or wherever it may be. This is what he's doing. It's sad, truly. It really is. But there's more memes, because this is a throwback for Justin Trudeau. Back in 2020, with all this mess, people were burning down churches. I remember it just like it was yesterday. He says, this is unacceptable and wrong, but I understand the anger. And I don't even know if he really said this is unacceptable. But you know what? We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But truckers lining the streets, carrying signs, peacefully protesting, I need emergency war powers, and I need them stat. Give me all the options. I want the nuclear button on my desk so I can press it, and it'll go something like, that's the wrong button. Where is my Diet Coke button? Very true. Aaron Behringer says they're doing it on purpose to try to heat up the situation. Might just be that. Might want to turn the protesters violent so that they actually have a reason to use the Emergency Powers Act, to actually get in there. I don't know. It's just an idea. Speaking of ideas, Antifa is definitely an idea. But what is a real idea is standing with the protesters. And it's a good thing. It really is a good thing. Another good thing is that this show is 100% supported by viewers like you. So if you're interested in supporting my ability to bring this content to your desk or your phone or your TV or wherever you're watching it from, then I encourage you to visit our website, donorbox.org/support-Chandler, and consider a one-time or even a monthly donation to support our content once the webpage loads. I don't know why it's taken so long. It usually doesn't take long. Am I still on the internet? Are you guys still reading me? I guess my website might be down, but anyways, on most days you can go to donorbox.org/support-Chandler. The link is in the description below, and I'll also drop it in the chat. If you are interested in supporting our content, we have a great bunch of donors, monthly donors or one-time donors. All of them mean the world to me. All right, the website's loaded now, so you just visit this website and hit donate, and you'll be able to support our content, and you'll also have your name added to our donor wall, so you can see it here, but then your name is also here as well. So Grace and Steve are my most recent donors, and so their names are plastered above my face. If you don't want your name plastered, of course, you can set your thing to anonymous, and I won't put it up there. But either way, all the support means the world to me, and I would really appreciate it if you would support me. So that out of the way, also we of course support Cash App donations. So if you're interested in doing it through there, I'll still put your name up there if you want it. Just gotta make sure you say it. Aaron says, half expecting another MyPillow ad. No, we save those for later. The MyPillow ads are very comfortable and of course cannot be slept on too much. But now that you mention it, these things are very comfortable. So another way to support me is, of course, code CRUMP at mypillow.com. Somebody who could definitely use a pillow right now is Ontario Premier Doug Ford, who has just been hit from all the different directions. He's one of the very few premiers in Canada that has not necessarily said I disagree with the Emergencies Act, because yesterday he said he agreed with it. So it is what it is. But he is bowing down at least a little bit, because he is now coming out to say that the vaccine passport program is a massive failure that needs to end. Let's start this up and see what he's got to say.
You know, you can go to Costco, you can go to Walmart, you can go shopping. You know, you don't know if the person has a shot beside you or not, but we also know that it doesn't matter if you have 1 shot or 10 shots, you can catch COVID.
I don't know if I can let him say that, because I've said the exact same thing before and have been struck down for medical misinformation. Okay, I might have to cut this from the stream, because this guy just said something that could get my whole channel banned. That's what happened on my last channel. I got like 3 strikes for medical misinformation, and I had to move all my content to this brand new channel. Nick Taylor says, so when is this guy going to tell us that he resigned? Hopefully soon, but, well, actually, after saying what is currently still, as far as what I know, medical misinformation, you might have to. Because every time I say these vaccines don't stop you from getting COVID, these vaccines don't keep you safe, I get a strike. I might have to cut the stream from my YouTube channel, because what he just said usually gives me a community guideline strike for medical misinformation. So, just to be safe, if you guys want to watch this stream later on, it's only going to be on Rumble, or I'm going to probably have to cut that part out, because I can't usually say that. And that's what makes me so angry. These people are on like another plane, like Rachel Maddow and what was her name? Some other host. Yeah, I think it was Rachel Maddow, though, who I directly compete with, or I used to before she quit. But Rachel Maddow used to go on her show talking about how the masks aren't saving you. You should still wear them though, and the vaccine's not going to stop you from getting COVID. And she didn't get taken off the air. She volunteered to get taken off the air. But when I say the exact same thing, I get a community guideline strike and lose my channel with 40,000 subscribers. It's still there, but nobody is able to see my content anymore. I'll stop complaining and just get back to playing the video, because, well, I guess he gets to say what he wants to, right?
See, the Prime Minister has triple shots, and I know hundreds of people with 3 shots that caught COVID. We just have to be careful. We've got to always make sure we wash our hands and move forward. But, Colin, we can't stay in this position forever.
Did he just say we can't stay in this position forever? Did he say it? Because it sounds like he's saying everything that we've been saying for the past couple of years. Aaron says, me angry. I agree. I'm angry as well. I'm angry as well. Took him this long to come up with it. Had to wait for his economy to collapse, and the economies of most other Western nations to collapse. Now we have a what's it called? What do they call it? A supply chain crisis. Ugh. I want to let you guys know that this is actually going to be a special episode, because at 3:30 p.m., Joe Biden is supposed to be giving a speech regarding the things happening in Ukraine. So at 3:30, we're going to cut off our normal Chandler Brief show, but then keep the show going and do like a sort of special broadcast of his live statements. So we're going to be pulling that up. So this is going to be a little bit longer of a Chandler Brief than normal. So if you've got some extra time, stick around. But I don't want to hear what this guy's saying anymore. He's pissing me off. Let's just move on. The Netherlands is just like Doug Ford in that they're saying we're going to go back to normal. Almost all COVID restrictions will be lifted by February 25th, the health minister announced. Now, I tried to source a story for this, but I couldn't find one yet, probably because the news is just so new. But they did tweet more. We are now in a different phase. A lot of people are infected, but the picture of hospital occupancy is completely different. It remains virtually stable, Health Minister Ernst Kuipers said. So that is yet another country that is saying no more mandates, no more restrictions. It's all gone. Let's go back to living in the 21st century and not back in the days when they used to bloodlet. Actually, worse, because back in the days when they used to bloodlet, they wouldn't force you to walk around with masks on your face. Not really. There wasn't much social distancing because they didn't know about anything like that. It is what it is. Jumping to another story, though, and Aaron says my blood pressure can't take that. I'm sorry, this next one is probably going to be just as bad, if not worse. The American... Hold on. American billionaire, Canadian civil servants among donors leaked in GiveSendGo hack. So there you go. So the main story I'm trying to tell here is that GiveSendGo was hacked yesterday. Yeah, February 14th. So it was hacked yesterday completely. And so they took down the website, they left some weird video up on the homepage, and then they also leaked the information of multiple people, actually the majority of people that donated to the GoFundMe, of which at the time it was hacked, had raised about $9 million. An American tech billionaire, 2 NASA employees, and Canadian civil servants are among a leaked list of nearly 100,000 Freedom Convoy donors, according to information released by hackers responsible for taking down the group's crowdfunding site. Late Sunday night, hackers took down the website GiveSendGo. It was flocked to by convoy organizers after GoFundMe canceled their multi-million-dollar campaign earlier this month. The hackers also released a spreadsheet of raw donor data containing names and dollar amounts of nearly 93,000 individuals who donated money to the Freedom Convoy. GiveSendGo's website was still offline by late Monday afternoon. On Sunday night, the site's homepage was replaced with GiveSendGo is now frozen in bold blue text, as well as a manifesto scrolling over a clip from Frozen 2 depicting Elsa singing Show Yourself while riding across the dark sea on a horse made of water. That movie is so weird. Attention GiveSendGo grifters and patriots, read the manifesto. The Canadian government has informed you that the money you a-holes raised to fund an insurrection is now frozen. The hacker accused Boston-based GiveSendGo of being complicit in funding last year's January 6th raid, and likewise funding of ongoing blockades and protests in Ottawa and across Canada. You are committed to funding anything that keeps the raging fire of misinformation going until that it burns down the world's collective democracies down, the manifesto read. While the hacker didn't identify themselves, an individual claiming responsibility told British news outlet The Guardian they intended to prove Canada wasn't immune to foreign political interference. So this is just some political hacker that is getting into GiveSendGo trying to take it down. But it looks like it wasn't too much of a success for them, because GiveSendGo is back up, and they now have $9.3 million raised. And so what? A few of the people had their details shown off. I think they don't care. I'm sure some of them are upset, but I think they're proud to stand for what they believe in. And it's upsetting that this had to happen, but it is what it is. They're not going to say, all right, give me my money back. I can't support this anymore. They're not going to publicly condemn it. I think even the American billionaire and apparently the NASA employees that donated to this are just going to say, you know, it's unfortunate what happened, but now I don't have to hide. I don't have to hide. And I hope NASA doesn't fire those people, or Canada doesn't fire the civil employees, or whatever it was, and the American billionaire doesn't have to go through some sort of media firestorm, because it should all be going towards the Freedom Convoy, the protests, the people that are standing for freedom. They're doing it for a good reason. A great reason, even. A great reason. Just like the Dutch Freedom Convoy that is now taking place in The Hague, because this connects to our previous story of the Netherlands having their restrictions lifted. It actually comes after they had their own Freedom Convoy in The Hague. Hundreds of people have held a Freedom Convoy protest around the Parliament building in the Netherlands, inspired by the protest that started in Ottawa. A large number of tractor, truck, and car drivers came to The Hague from different cities of the country to protest COVID-19 restrictions. Activists blocked the roads around the Parliament building and announced that they will continue the protest until the government resigned. They held banners saying, "Mark Rutte has to go, we are not going, enough is enough, and freedom, freedom." The demonstration was canceled and the police warned the demonstrators to leave the area, saying those who continue the protest will be fined or detained and their vehicles will be towed. Protests eventually ended the blocking around the Parliament building after causing traffic congestion that saw transportation to the center blocked and tram services canceled throughout the day. But they won, is the important part. Right back in this story, the Netherlands will go back to normal. These protests happened 2 days ago, and the Netherlands has already said, you know what? Those people were right. The science has changed. Science has changed. Hard quotes around that. The science has changed. Let's just end this mess, shall we? And so that's what happened. They got their lives back. They ended these protests, and now the protests are going to keep going in other places. And it's going to keep on happening. And that's just what it's going to be. And I'm so proud of them. I really am. Moving on to our next story, we've got just a few minutes left. A candidate for mayor in Louisville was shot at by a Black Lives Matter activist. And very true, Aaron. The political science has changed. I am blessed. Our team is blessed. A man walked into our office. We greeted him, and he started shooting at me. Craig Greenberg said at a press office. Police identified the suspect late Monday night as 21-year-old Quintez Brown. He was charged with attempted murder and 4 counts of endangerment, wanton endangerment. I don't know what wanton endangerment is, but yeah. The Louisville Metro Police Department said. It appeared Greenberg, a Democrat, was targeted in the shooting, Shield said. Police said they believe the suspect acted alone, and there is no motive at this time. But actually digging a little bit more into the story, you can see just who this Quintez Brown kid is. I call him a kid. He's a couple years older than me, but I'm about making my ancestors proud, he says, wearing a Pan-African shirt with the Pan-African colors. Here he is on Obama.org as a quote-unquote rising face. And then here he is speaking with Joy Reid, who says, you're from the home state of the Senate Majority Leader. What do you want him to know? Student activist Quintez Brown. We want common sense gun reform. Huh. Do you now? You want gun reform? 110. Thank you, Aaron. 110 is without care or regard. Interesting. Yeah. Student activist Quintez Brown. We want common sense gun reform. This was when he was in high school, just about a couple years ago, 2018, probably about junior, senior. So he was about my age when this happened. In Washington, D.C., I think this is during the March for Our Lives, wasn't it? Because it's March 2018, just like a month after the Stoneman shooting. So there he is at the March for Our Lives, and now he has been charged with attempting to murder somebody. Charged with attempted murder and 4 counts of wanton endangerment after allegedly trying to assassinate a Louisville mayor candidate. Brown is a well-known Black Lives Matter activist, and his Twitter account is filled with far-left and black nationalist content. Capitalism is a humanitarian disaster. We've been here. Vote November 8th. Pull the lever for the Black Panther. Okay? Capitalism has outlived its usefulness. It has failed to meet the needs of the masses. And then Black Panther Party, Panther Power. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This kid more than likely got a hold of his gun through capitalism. And more than likely attempted to kill somebody utilizing capitalism. What can I say? What can I say? Now, we've got just about a minute or so before we have to tune in to Joe Biden's speech. So I'm just gonna have this pulled up over here. But I have one last thing I wanted to show you guys before he gets started. I saw this story, and I just had to make a little something. So my tweet says, Quintez Brown is 21 and has been charged with attempted murder. He's a Black Lives Matter activist and socialist. Now, I'm only 17, but I think you guys can see the comparison. That's right. A Black Panther wanting gun control. That's crazy to me. Look at this. Quintez Brown, 21, charged with attempted murder. Gave a speech in Washington, D.C. and spoke with Joy Ann Reid back in 2018 during the March for Our Lives, it would appear. Meanwhile, I was only 14 in 2018, actually 13 when the March for Our Lives happened. 17 right now. Come on, kid. Come on. Stop trying to hurt people. Maybe stop being a far-left socialist, and you might get a little bit more sense in your head. Now he's got a lot to deal with, and he's actually out on bond right now. So... got to be careful, but it is what it is. Filled with Black Lives Matter content, filled with far left stuff. And actually, if we visit his Twitter account, which is still up right now, we have one scientific and correct solution: Pan-Africanism, the total liberation and unification of Africa under scientific socialism. And that concludes our Chandler brief for the day. But we're not done, because now Joe Biden
Together with
is
our
speaking.
allies and partners, my administration has engaged in non-stop diplomacy. This weekend, I spoke again with President Putin to make clear that we are ready to keep pursuing high-level diplomacy, to reach written understandings among Russia, the United States, and the nations of Europe to address legitimate security concerns, if that's his wish. Their security concerns and ours. President Putin and I agreed that our team should continue to engage toward this end, along with our European allies and partners. Yesterday, the Russian government publicly proposed to continue the diplomacy. I agree. We should give the diplomacy every chance to succeed. And I believe there are real ways to address our respective security concerns. The United States has put on the table concrete ideas to establish a security environment in Europe. We're proposing new arms control measures, new transparency measures, new strategic stability measures. These measures would apply to all parties, NATO and Russia alike. And we're willing to make practical, result-oriented steps that can advance our common security. We will not sacrifice basic principles, though.
I don't know, Aaron.
Nations have a right to sovereignty and territorial integrity. They have the freedom to set their own course and choose with whom they will associate. But that still leaves plenty of room for diplomacy and for de-escalation. That's the best way forward for all parties, in our view. We'll continue our diplomatic efforts in close consultation with our allies and our partners. As long as there is hope of diplomatic resolution that prevents the use of force and avoids incredible human suffering that would follow, we will pursue it. The Russian defense minister reported today that some military units are leaving their positions near Ukraine. That would be good, but we have not yet verified that. We have not yet verified the Russian military units are returning to their home bases. Indeed, our analysts indicate that they remain very much in a threatening position. And the fact remains, right now, Russia has more than 150,000 troops encircling Ukraine and Belarus and along Ukraine's border.
And you ain't black.
An invasion remains distinctly possible. That's why I've asked several times that all Americans in Ukraine leave now before it's too late to leave safely. It is why we have temporarily relocated our embassy from Kyiv to Lviv in western Ukraine, approaching the Polish border. And we've been transparent with the American people and with the world about Russia's plans and the seriousness of the situation so that everyone can see for themselves what is happening. We've shared what we know and what we're doing about it. Let me be equally clear about what we are not doing. The United States and NATO are not a threat to Russia. Ukraine is not threatening Russia. Neither the U.S. nor NATO have missiles in Ukraine. We do not have plans to put them there as well. We're not targeting the people of Russia. We do not seek to destabilize Russia.
Okay.
To the citizens of Russia, you are not our enemy. And I do not believe you want a bloody, destructive war against Ukraine, a country and a people with whom you share such deep ties of family, history, and culture.
I think that might be why he's trying to do it.
77 years ago, our people fought and sacrificed side by side to end the worst war in history. World War II was a war of necessity. But if Russia attacks Ukraine, it would be a war of choice, or a war without cause or reason. I say these things not to provoke, but to speak the truth, because the truth matters. Accountability matters. If Russia does invade in the days and weeks ahead, the human cost for Ukraine will be immense. And the strategic cost for Russia will also be immense. If Russia attacks Ukraine, it'll be met with overwhelming international condemnation. The world will not forget
We'll say something about it.
that Russia chose needless death and destruction. Invading Ukraine will prove to be a self-inflicted wound. The United States and our allies and partners will respond decisively. The West is united and galvanized. Today, our NATO allies and the alliance is as unified and determined as it has ever been. And the source of our unbreakable strength continues to be the power, resilience, and universal appeal of our shared democratic values. Because this is about more than just Russia and Ukraine. It's about standing for what we believe in, for the future we want for our world, for liberty, the right of countless countries to choose their own destiny, and the right of people to determine their own futures, for the principle that a country can't change its neighbors' borders by force. That's our vision. And toward that end, I'm confident that vision, that freedom will prevail. If Russia proceeds, we will rally the world to oppose its aggression. The United States and our allies and partners around the world are ready to impose powerful sanctions on export controls, including actions that did not
We've got
we did
sanctions
not
running on
pursue
ourselves
when Russia
right now.
invaded Crimea in eastern Ukraine in 2014. We will put intense pressure on their largest and most significant financial institutions and key industries. These measures are ready to go
It does sound like you have
as
some marbles
soon
in your
as
mouth.
if Russia moves. We'll impose long-term consequences that will undermine Russia's ability to compete economically and strategically. And when it comes to Nord Stream 2, the pipeline that would bring natural gas from
Don't
Russia
talk
to
about
Germany,
pipelines right now.
if Russia further invades Ukraine, it will not happen.
We shut down our own pipeline. You're attacking us more than you attack
I will not send
Russia.
American servicemen to fight in Ukraine. We have supplied the Ukrainian military with equipment to help them defend themselves. We provided training
Whatever.
and advice and intelligence.
Look at our gas
for the same
prices.
purpose. And make no mistake, the United States will defend every inch of NATO territory with the full force of American power. An attack against one NATO country is an attack against all of us.
Okay.
And the United States' commitment to Article 5 is sacrosanct. Already, in response to Russia's buildup of troops, I've sent additional U.S. forces to bolster NATO's eastern flank.
Okay.
Several of our allies have also announced they'll add forces and capabilities to ensure deterrence and defense along NATO's eastern flank.
Okay.
We will also continue to conduct military exercises with our allies and partners to enhance defensive readiness. And if Russia invades, we'll take further steps to reinforce our presence in NATO, reassure us for our allies, and deter further aggression.
So if Russia invades
To be
Ukraine, we
clear,
will do nothing.
If Russia
Okay.
decides to invade, that would also have consequences here at home. But the American people understand that defending democracy and liberty is never without cost.
Right.
This is a cause that unites Republicans and Democrats. And I want to thank the leaders and members of Congress of both parties who've forcefully spoken out in defense of our most basic, most bipartisan, most American principles.
Uh-huh.
I will not pretend this will be painless. There could be impact on our energy prices.
Oh, gosh.
So we are
Come
taking
on.
active steps to alleviate the pressure on our own energy markets and offset raising prices.
Let us build pipelines then.
We're coordinating with major energy consumers and producers. We're prepared to deploy all the tools and authority at our disposal to provide relief at the gas pump. And I'll work with Congress on additional measures
It's hilarious.
to help protect consumers and address the impact of prices at the pump.
And you
We are
ain't
not
black.
seeking direct confrontation with Russia, though I've been clear that if Russia targets Americans in Ukraine, we will respond forcefully. And if Russia attacks the United States or our allies through asymmetric means, like disruptive cyber attacks against our companies or critical infrastructure, we are prepared to respond. But we're moving in lockstep with our NATO allies and partners to deepen our collective defense against threats in cyberspace. Two paths are still open. For the sake of historic responsibility, Russia and the United States share for global stability, for the sake of our common future, to choose diplomacy. But let there be no doubt. If Russia commits this breach by invading Ukraine, responsible nations around the world will not hesitate to respond. If we do not stand for freedom where it is at risk today, we'll surely pay a steeper price tomorrow. Thank you. I'll keep you informed.
Could definitely be a lot worse.
President, whether or not they are de-escalating.
And no questions.
Precursor to a Russian invasion.
Are they behind the cyber attack, Mr. President?
Well, that's that. From the president. Spoke for a few minutes. Not much said. Basically just said, if y'all do anything, we gonna come for you. But not, like, we're not gonna do anything. Which, you know, is nice. I wish he said something about the truckers maybe one day. Other than that, it's an illegal protest and I am counting on Justin Trudeau to end it. Hip Hop Thinker says this speech should have been directed to Justin Trudeau. Honestly, Trudeau deserves a lot more condemnation right now than Putin does, because all Putin is doing is sort of kind of threatening another country that I'm hearing conflicting results about him pulling his troops back and then sometimes pushing the troops forward. No invasion quite yet. But Justin Trudeau is literally saying, yeah, all my people, yeah, we gonna come for you. We gonna throw you in jail if we got to. No more protests, no more nothing. None of that. You can't have anything. Not an inch, not even a mile. None of that. So the question is, who's worse right now? I mean, the obvious answer is more than likely Putin. But does it look like that? With Castro Jr. trending every single day? We're not really calling Putin Stalin Jr. right now, are we? And not just because of the lineage or anything like that, but just because he's not acting like Stalin Jr., at least not as far as we can see. He doesn't seem to be brutalizing his own people, not quite obviously, at least not recently. But you know what? We're going to put it to the side. Want to give a big shout out to everybody who was watching over on Rumble and YouTube. You guys have been a big help to keeping this show on the air. I want to remind you once again that the show is 100% supported by viewers like you. So if you're interested in having your name added to our Hall of Fame right here, then definitely make sure you go to donorbox.org/support-Chandler in order to consider a one-time or a perhaps monthly donation to support our channel. I want to give a big thank you to our monthly supporters, Mark and Inespo or Nicole, who have been supporting me for a few months now repeatedly. That means the world to me as well. These are great to count on to keep the show running, all that good stuff like that. It means the world to me. One thing I want to show last before we move on is just this hilarious thing I saw. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it back up before I go, because it's actually a little video of the My Pillow truck that is now roving on through the land. So let me visit the RSBN Twitter and see if we can find this right quick. So there's Trump at his rally. There's Mike Lindell talking on My Pillow about what he's doing, and then I saw so here's the My Pillow truck actually roving on through, and if I remember correctly, it should be live right now, actually, on the RSBN site. Is it live still? I think this is a link to it that's removed by Uploader. Must not be on YouTube anymore. But anyways, this is a look at the truck they've got going on. This is great news happening in Canada. My Pillow is delivering trucks to the delivering pillows, I should say, to the weary travelers and weary truckers. So if you're interested in supporting My Pillow, supporting Mike Lindell and me, then make sure you go to mypillow.com and use code CRUMP for your very own My Pillow, and a portion of it does indeed go towards improving My Pillow's ability to deliver pillows to the truckers. So just go to mypillow.com and use code CRUMP to get your very own pillow or sheets or slippers. They are actually running a flash sale for sheets right now. So for $40, you get sheets and then also one of these free books as well by Mike Lindell, which talks about what he's up to. He said, what are the odds? I believe it's about the election a little bit, but a few different things. The election, the odds of him succeeding in life despite the fact that he was addicted to drugs, all these different things about how he came up from the ashes. It's a beautiful story, truly. So make sure you go to mypillow.com and use code CRUMP for your very own discount. 60% off of the Giza Dream sheets for $40. My Pillows as low as $20. All sorts of different options available on the My Pillow site. You can do so by getting it right over there. Aside from all that, though, I'll catch you guys later on tonight at 8 when we do our live show once again called Crump Live. This will be available on all of my channels, and we're going to dissolve a few more topics of the day and the last couple of weeks, all sorts of things like that. If you guys are interested in seeing it, make sure you subscribe, smash the like button, and I'll see you guys once again tonight. But aside from all that, I'll catch you next time, free thinkers. Don't forget to spread the virus of intelligence. Peace out, and see y'all later.
Into the light we go.